The New York Islanders pull the trigger on the big deal we've all been waiting for. Bo Horvat is a New York Islander. We'll talk about what it means for the team, what they gave up, and how it affects the team's playoff chances. All that and more coming up on today's Locked On Islanders podcast.
Your Locked On Islanders, your daily podcast on the New York Islanders. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And welcome, everybody, to the Tuesday edition of the Locked On Islanders podcast. Gil Martin, so glad you could be with us today and be part of the Locked On Islanders family. And thank you for making Locked On Islanders your first listen every day. We are free and available on all platforms. This episode is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook, official sportsbook of Locked On. Make every moment more. Visit FanDuel.com/LockedOn today to get started. So the big news, the New York Islanders and Lamoriello making the big trade for a goal scorer that Islander fans have been waiting for more than a year, maybe even more than that. Bo Horvat is now a New York Islander. The Islanders acquire the former Vancouver Canucks captain and basically give up in the deal Anthony Beauvillier, Aatu Raty, and a conditional first-round pick in the 2023 NHL entry draft. Now, the condition is this. It's top 12 protected. So if the Islanders have one of the first 12 picks in this year's upcoming draft, that pick will stay with the Islanders, and then the Islanders would have to give up their 2024 first-round pick, regardless of where it is, whether it's first or 32nd, to Vancouver in that deal. So the Islanders have a little bit of protection if they do well in the lottery and end up getting that pick. But realistically, that is the price. The first-round pick, Aatu Raty, who, according to almost every scouting report and expert out there, was the top prospect in the Islanders organization, and Anthony Beauvillier. And here's the thing that comes to mind first. Bo Horvat checks a lot of the boxes that the Islanders need. First of all, he has 31 goals already this season. That ties his career high, which he set last season. But Horvat, 31 goals, 54 points in 49 games. He gives you that bona fide goal scorer that you've been waiting for this team to get, that this team needs so badly. He's been averaging a little bit short of 21 minutes of ice time per game. So he'll give you that. And just to sort of add to the equation, he has 11 power play goals, 7 power play assists, and 3 shorthanded goals. Now, we all know how badly the New York Islanders' power play has been. So here is a situation where Bo Horvat can improve the power play. Certainly, Anthony Beauvillier won't be there on the power play anymore, but Bo Horvat gives you power play, gives you penalty kill, and let's face it, he was the captain of the Vancouver Canucks up until this trade. He is also going to give you leadership, and I know that with a rookie head coach, leadership is something that we've talked about that this team really kind of needed to add. Now, Horvat, 27 years old. He is in the prime of his career right now, won't turn 28 until late in the season, April 5th. And, he's a left-handed shot and a center. Center is kind of the catch. Bo Horvat is a center. That gives the Islanders 5 centers right now on their roster. You have Matthew Barzal, Horvat, you have Brock Nelson, you have JG Pageau, and Casey Cizikas. Only 4 of them can obviously dress at center at any given time. Do you end up moving Matthew Barzal to the wing? Now, Horvat is also one of the top face-off guys in the league. He's in the top 20 in the NHL in face-offs. That is a definite plus, something that, again, the Islanders like. And guess what? Bo Horvat is also responsible defensively. The catch for Horvat, however, is this. He is in the last year of his contract. This very well could be a rental. And here's the thing. There's a lot still on the table with the Horvat situation. If Lou Lamoriello can sign Bo Horvat to an extension, it improves the top 6 of this team, gives them that bona fide goal scorer. If he develops chemistry with Barzy, you've got a situation where you would have 2 solid top 6 lines because you would have Barzal, Horvat, and whoever the third player is going to be. And then, of course, if you keep Nelson, Lee, and Palmieri as your second line, you're pretty nicely set up that way. And, potentially for a third line right now, I guess you would go with, Pageau, Parise, and maybe Bailey. It's going to be interesting, to say the least, as to how this plays out. But Horvat, I think Lou Lamoriello wouldn't have pulled the trigger on this deal if he didn't think he could re-sign Bo Horvat. And because this deal was done more than a month before the actual trade deadline, it means that the Islanders will have some time to negotiate with Horvat's agent. And if in the event that they cannot re-sign him, which is a possibility, let's not kid ourselves about that, but if they cannot re-sign him, you still have time to possibly flip him and trade him before the trade deadline. And if the Islanders don't rebound and get back into a playoff spot, if they continue to struggle on the ice, you can still trade Bo Horvat at that point if you need to and recapture some of the assets you got, maybe even more than what you gave up to get him. So it is indeed a deal with multiple layers that's going to have a big effect on this team. But overall, other than the fact that Horvat is a center rather than a wing, this deal checks almost all the boxes you wanted short term. My concern about it is this. If he's only a rental and you don't trade him at the deadline and you keep him and you can't re-sign him, the price that the Islanders paid is high. We have got a lot more to discuss. We'll talk about what the Islanders gave up in order to get Bo Horvat. We'll talk a little bit more about how Horvat will fit in with the team. We have all that and a lot more still to come on this episode of the Locked On Islanders podcast. Today's episode is brought to you by your friends at FanDuel. This year, the only app you need at your Super Bowl party is FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. We're really excited about our new sports betting partner for Locked On because they're the #1 sportsbook in America, FanDuel. And if you're new to FanDuel, that's even better. They have so many great features that make betting on sports fun and easy. Download FanDuel now so you can bet on Super Bowl 57 with a no-sweat first bet. You'll get up to $3,000 back in bonus bets if your first bet doesn't win. FanDuel lets you bet on everything from money line to point spreads to who will score a touchdown. The FanDuel Sportsbook app is safe, secure, and super easy to use. And best of all, you can get paid your winnings instantly. So Islanders are off, but hey, if you have an idea as to who's going to win the Super Bowl or what bets you'd like to make on the Super Bowl, head over to FanDuel and check out the odds. Join FanDuel today at FanDuel.com/locked-on to claim your no sweat first bet on Super Bowl 57. That's FanDuel.com/locked-on. Make every moment more with FanDuel, official sportsbook partner of the NFL. So what did the Islanders give up in this deal? Well, let's start with the obvious. Anthony Beauvillier. I always liked Bo. I always thought that he had the potential to be something more than what he has been in recent years. Some of the plays, the way he played in the playoffs, the 2 years the Islanders went to the conference final, he was a big part of the team's success and a big reason for why he stepped up when the stakes were highest. But let's face it, the biggest asset Beauvillier brings you is speed. This year, 9 goals, 20 points in 49 games with the Islanders. That's a very average or even below average production for a top 6 forward. And yeah, the Islanders lack speed, and Beauvillier is one of the few players among the forwards other than Barzy who had really good speed. But 3 good games followed by 6 or 7 invisible games just isn't going to get the job done. Beauvillier is 27. You trade him. You took $4.1 million off the cap, which allowed you to sign Horvat or at least bring on Horvat's salary. And I think Bo, as in Anthony Beauvillier, can benefit from the change of scenery. I think having him get a fresh start with a new organization where he's going to get probably more ice time than he's been getting with the Islanders and have a chance to play in a system that probably will give him more opportunities offensively and allow him to utilize his speed more. I think it's probably good for Anthony Beauvillier. The tough part about this deal for me is including Aatu Raty and that 2023 first round pick. And look, I have no illusions. In order to get something good like Bo Horvat, you have to give up something good. Raty, 2 goals in 12 games, not seeing a lot of ice time, not, when he is on the ice, very often playing on the 4th line with players who are, checkers and grinders and what have you. He's only 20. Will Aatu Raty develop into a strong, solid player who can be, a top 6 forward in this league for the next 12, 13 years plus? Quite possibly. But the Islanders and Lou Lamoriello always seem to be in let's win now mode. This is a team with a veteran core, and waiting a year or 2 years for Aatu Raty to not just get comfortable in the NHL, but sort of get into the prime of his career doesn't fit with the players this team has on the roster right now. I am concerned that they are giving up on Raty, but no way Vancouver makes this deal, or any other team, if you were looking to add a goal scorer, makes this deal if Raty and or William Dufour was not a part of it. So it's frustrating to see Raty go, but I understand why it had to be that way and why he was included in the deal. The other thing is that 2023 first round pick. It's a great draft. It's a deep draft this year. So that's a double-edged sword. If the Islanders are going to pick in the middle of the first round or even late in the first round, you could still get some quality players because this is such a deep draft. And it bothers me as to the fact that the Islanders have traded away their first round pick for 4 or 5 years in a row now. And there is no way that won't come back to hurt them. Leave a recording of this podcast save it for 5 years, take a look at it in 2028, and tell me if the lack of first round picks that the Islanders had in the late 2000 teens and early 2020s doesn't come back to hurt this team's development long term. I hope I'm wrong, but I think trading that many first round picks, first round pick to get Kyle Palmieri, first round pick to get Alexander Romanov, first round pick to get JG Pageau, and now a first round pick to get Bo Horvat. When you're not picking in that first round year after year after year, it affects your prospect pool. And we already mentioned, for example, that the Athletic ranked the Islanders prospect pool 27th out of 32 teams in the league. And that was with Aatu Raty as their top prospect. So again, in the long run, there's got to be a way eventually for this team to replenish their prospect pool. I like the fact that the pick is protected to an extent, but one way or the other, whether it's 2023 or 2024, Vancouver is going to get one of the Islanders' next 2 first-round picks. So that's what you've given up. And I think the gamble is this. The Islanders are in to try to make that playoff run this year. They are going for it. And because you have 5 centers now on this team, it is very possible in my mind that Lou Lamoriello is not done trading, that possibly another player is brought in and another player or 2 is shipped out. And that, and it may even, as I mentioned, be Horvat if things don't work out by the trade deadline. We shall see. But as of right now, this deal fits the Islanders' needs pretty darn well. He is an Islanders kind of player. He is a Lou Lamoriello kind of player. He should fit in very nicely with this team, improve the power play, help on the penalty kill, good on faceoffs, responsible in his own end, and has 12 more goals than Brock Nelson and Anders Lee, who are presently tied for the lead on this Islanders team. The key to me for this deal, and it's, important to me, they have to sign Horvat to an extension or trade him for some other asset that will benefit this team long term if they can't sign him to the extension. If you gave up Aatu Raty, Anthony Beauvillier, and a first-round pick just to keep Bo Horvat on your team for February, March, and half of April, I don't think that's a good deal. But if you get something back for him, or if you sign Horvat to a 3, 4, 6-year extension and he becomes a mainstay of this team going forward, I think this could be a very good deal for the New York Islanders. So, the jury is still out, and I think there's a lot left to be determined when it comes to, whether or not the Islanders will win this trade. I will say this. It's a gamble, but I think it's a worthwhile gamble to give this older team a little bit more of a shot to try to make good. So let's see what happens. I don't think this is Lou's last deal, but it should be certainly going to make the rest of this regular season a little more interesting. We have got more to get to on today's show. We're going to have your early reactions, your email reactions to this trade. We'll talk about that. I'll comment on it. Plus our Islanders birthday of the day, a backup goalie who came up huge to get the Islanders to the playoffs in the late 2000s. All that and more still to come on today's Locked On Islanders podcast. Today's episode is brought to you by Athletic Greens. Our next partner has a product I literally use every day. I started taking AG1 because I wanted one source to get all my nutritional needs. And I'll tell you, this stuff is great. What is this stuff? Well, with one delicious scoop of AG1, you're absorbing 75 high-quality vitamins, minerals, whole food source superfoods, probiotics, and adaptogens to help you start your day right. This special blend of ingredients supports your gut health, your nervous system, your immune system, energy, recovery, focus, and aging. All these things. And it is lifestyle friendly, whether you eat keto, paleo, vegan, dairy free, or gluten free. So, right now, it's time to reclaim your health and arm your immune system with convenient daily nutrition. It's just one scoop in a cup of water every day. That's it. No need for a million different pills and supplements to look out for your health. And to make it easy, Athletic Greens is going to give you a free 1-year supply of immune supporting vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. All you have to do is visit athleticgreens.com/NHL network. Again, that's athleticgreens.com/NHL network to take ownership over your health and pick up the ultimate daily nutritional insurance. So what do you think about this deal? Well, we've got 3 quick responses shortly after the trade was made. The first, Ian from Westchester. Hi, Gil. Personally, I think the Isles gave a little too much up. I'm fine with the first because Lou has proven he can draft well in other rounds. Anthony Beauvillier, I've always been a fan of. He fits in the new NHL. He's fast and can score big goals. Raty, I think, is going to be a very good player too. At one point, he was the clear favorite to go number 1. Don't get me wrong, Horvat is a great player, but another center is not the need. And I was reading an article on how Timo Meier is having a similar is going to get roughly a similar package. I would have rather have gotten him. He's younger and an RFA next year and a winger. Ian, all fair points. I think, again, it depends what ends up happening. Do the Islanders manage to secure Horvat over the long haul? And what other moves, if any, are made between now and the trade deadline to alleviate the center situation? Or does a player get moved from center to wing in order to make, the lineup more whole? So we'll see. But Ian, all fair points. Ed from Belrose adds, I just found out the news. I'm pretty good with the deal. I was done with Beauvillier. Hated to see Raty go. However, Horvat is 27. He has many good years, and hopefully there will be chemistry with Barzal. He's a tremendous player. Glad we have him. What do you think? Can't wait to your next podcast. Well, Ed, you're on this next podcast as we break this down and discuss what's going on. And, I think, again, the key is keeping Horvat or getting something for him. To me, if you sign him long term and he continues to play the way he's played in Vancouver for the Islanders for the next 3, 4, 5 years, this is probably a good deal. Now, third email we have is Pedro from Portugal. Hi, Gil. Just heard the news of the Bo Horvat trade, and it's a mix of feelings. Horvat is a great player, having a career season, and for sure will bring offense to the Isles, but he is on an expiring deal. Can the Islanders re-sign him? Also, he's a center, so I guess Barzal maybe will play on the wing. Finally, he's got 31 goals so far, but it's his best season so far, and he's only cracked the 30-goal barrier twice. And being that the Islanders are a defense-first team, I don't know if he can continue to produce at such a high pace. Even though there are some cons, I can see the Islanders making the playoffs if offense can show up, because defense, it's above average, and goaltending is great. It's just the best tandem in the league, no question. Nevertheless, always great to see some trade action finally on the island. Keep it up, Gil. I'm a big fan of your podcast. Never miss one. Take care, Pedro from Portugal. First of all, Pedro, thank you for the kind words. As far as Horvat's productivity, I think we will see it fall off a little bit if he's playing in the Islanders system. It'll fall off a little less than it would have if Barry Trotz was still the coach, I think, under Lane Lambert. All right, so, right now he was on, let's say, a 43-goal pace, give or take, with Vancouver. Maybe he goes down to 39 or 40 with the Islanders by the end of the season if he plays in the rest of the games for the team, stays healthy, and is involved with the team. I think there will be a slight reduction, but you know what? That is going to be true. If you brought Alexander Ovechkin to the Islanders, his productivity would go down a little bit because of the way the Islanders play. So a lot of questions still to be answered, but overall, this is what Islander fans have been waiting for. They got their goal scorer. Let's see how this plays out, what other moves are made. And to me, the big key that would make the deal worthwhile is that Bo Horvat signs an extension with the Islanders. And whatever happens, we will have all the latest analysis for you right here on the Locked On Islanders podcast. Time now for our Islanders birthday of the day. And Monday was the 44th birthday of former Islanders goalie Wade Dublowitz. Doobie, undrafted, 5'10", 180 pounds, kind of small for a modern goalie, and spent 4 years at the University of Denver before joining the Islanders for the 2003-2004 season. Stayed with the Isles through 2007, 2008, then played for Columbus and Minnesota, played in the KHL, played in Germany, and hung up his skates after the 2010-2011 season. The big moment for Wade Dublowitz, always from any Islander fan, season finale, April 8th, 2007, Islanders and Devils in New Jersey, and Dublowitz in a shootout poke checks the puck away to give the Islanders a 3-2 win. He really came in when Rick DiPietro was injured down the stretch. He was really the third goalie on the depth chart that year, but he came in and came up big, and the Islanders managed to make the playoffs as the last seed that year in 2007. And Doobie even got to play one playoff game before the regular goalie was healthy. So happy birthday, Wade Dublowitz. Yeah, he only played a handful of games for the New York Islanders, only played 43 games in his NHL career, but Dublowitz, because of that magic moment, always will have a place in Islanders lore. That is going to do it for this episode of the Locked On Islanders podcast. We'll be back tomorrow with more fallout from the Bo Horvat deal and a whole lot more. So make sure you join us for that. We'll also have our weekly farm report. Until then, have a great day, everybody. Stay safe. And of course, let's go Islanders.